Hello lovely ladies, welcome back to my channel. I'm Camille, your internet big sister, where personal growth meets leveling up in style with substance and soul at the center. For today's video, I'm going to talk about a very harsh yet powerful truth. And the truth is that you don't win when you're desperate. And I'm going to unpack why desperation will kill your chances and it will hold you back, and also provide you with solutions on how you can shift your mindset to really attract what it is that you require. Now, before we get into the video, let's just look at what it means to be desperate. So if you were to look up the definition of desperate, you would see a definition among the lines of having lost hope, or expressing or employing extreme measures in attempt to escape defeat or frustration. And I find that people who move and operate out of desperation, they tend to be very dangerous because these are people who have nothing to lose. And if you are someone who has everything to lose, whether it's your reputation, whether it's something that you've built and sustained throughout the course of your life, you cannot be around desperate people. Desperate people make poor decisions. Desperate people act out recklessly. And desperate people operate from a place of scarcity because they believe that their situation and who they are, they won't be able to do better and be better. It's really just a bad cologne. Everyone can smell it. And it instantly repels the very things that we are trying to chase. And look, I know I said I wouldn't talk about dating, but I will say this, and then I'm going to move on. Ladies, men are not stupid. Men have brains, and men are intuitive. But the thing is that they're not going to tell you. They'd rather just sit back, observe, and be silent. And men know when a woman is desperate, whether it's for marriage, whether it's to be a girlfriend, whether it's to be chosen to go on a date. And understand that all those things have one thing in common. You have to be picked for that. As I know women like to get on social media and talk about pick-me culture, but a big part of pick-me culture is you being picked for certain things, okay? So take that mindset wherever you go and understand, like I said before, men are not stupid. They know. But anyways, let's move on. When you're desperate, you tend to radiate insecurity, impatience, and fear. So instead of inspiring trust, confidence, and wisdom, you tend to make other people feel uneasy. And when you grasp at an opportunity, or how should I say it? When an opportunity comes your way, you tend to sabotage it because you have convinced yourself that you don't deserve certain opportunities. It will slip through your fingers and you're not given the knowledge and wisdom to sustain and keep those opportunities and blessings that come to you. Now, when you think about desperation, it signals that you're not in control. And I'm talking to women specifically for this video. So whether you are in business, relationships, or even personal goals, that energy can be picked up on, and it can make you wonder, wait a minute, why am I in such a rush? Or what's missing in my life? Desperation can attract more scarcity as opposed to abundance. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that keeps you stuck in the same cycle of grasping and chasing. And I think you guys all know this saying, when you do something over and over again, it's considered insanity. So if you're getting the same outcomes, it really comes back to you. What is it about you that is attracting these outcomes? What is it about you that is attracting opportunities only to mess it up and sabotage? This comes back down to shadow work. And yes, ladies, desperation is considered a shadow. Shadow work is all about shining a light on the hidden parts of ourselves that we dislike, that we know exists, but we just choose to cover it up. So desperation in this case It's a fear, it's an insecurity. And something that we can do to combat this is ask, where is this coming from? Is this an old wound that stems from childhood? Does it come from a time where you felt abandoned or overlooked? Or do you believe that if you become successful, then you'll lose sight of who you are? And by sitting with these parts and by feeling them out and integrating them into our life, you transform that desperation into abundance and self-trust. It helps you reclaim your power from those shadows. So for me, desperation was one of my shadows because I believe that, oh my goodness, I'm not going to become the woman that I want to be. And so in order for me to become the woman that I want to be, who is bold, eccentric, confident, sophisticated, and elevated with wisdom, I have to say yes to every and any opportunity, right? Because I believe that it will get me to where I need to be. When in reality, some of the opportunities, some of the choices that I made, as well as the behaviors that I engaged in, it actually set me further away from becoming that woman. And also I was very desperate in my career. So I believe that if I choose any career, right, any job, then okay, I'm right where I need to be. But then when I start working that job, I realize, well, wait a minute, this is not what I want. As opposed to leaving, I would just stay because I was so desperate to have a job. I was so desperate to have this title because it gave me a sense of worthiness. It gave me an identity. But when I lost jobs, like when I got fired, because I got fired a lot when I was in my 20s, I don't care, I'll admit it. It felt like I was losing a part of myself. But then I realized, well, wait a minute, Camille, why are you defining yourself by your job titles? It's not a status. It's not who you are. Who are you outside of those jobs? Because I looked at those jobs as a pinnacle of success, but then I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to define myself. So I had to go back to the drawing board and really ask myself, okay, who am I? And why do I feel like I have to attach my identity and worthiness to a job? And thinking back on that now, it really makes me sad because it just shows how trapped I was in this capitalistic world, because that's what capitalism wants us to do. It wants us to latch on and use it as a tool to define us. And it takes us away from ourselves. So who am I? Well, I am a woman who is bold, who is confident, who is self-assured, who is eccentric, who is vibrant, who likes to bring joy, whether to myself and to the people that I'm around. I like to think of myself as being very creative, not just in terms of my eccentric style, but also I'm very creative. I love to draw, I love to color, I love to paint, I love to come up with random sporadic ideas and act on it, whether it's creating content or even starting this YouTube channel and coming up with these types of topics, right? That's who I am. I'm not a VP. I'm not a talent acquisition coordinator. I don't need these worldly corporate titles to define me. And that's where my desperation came from. I was defining myself using titles that were not meant, intended, and equipped for me. And I was so desperate to cling on to those titles because if I lost it, that meant, oh, I lose my status. Chale, the ghetto. So once I faced that desperation, I no longer need to grasp and have a control over it, right? You tend to hold things lightly, and it puts you in a state where not only is your nervous system more regulated, and actually, I'm going to bring this up. When you have a regulated nervous system and you feel calm, at ease, and at peace from within, that lets you know that the work that you've done, right? Whether it's the shadow work or the wounds that you've healed, it's healing you because you no longer need to go back to what was once familiar to you. You now trust that whatever is meant for you is going to stay. And that is the beauty of detachment. Detachment is not about apathy. It's about knowing that You're worthy whether or not you get the outcome that you desire, and you become a magnet to those outcomes because it shows that you are aligned as opposed to being in a needy state of that desperation. You attract from wholeness as opposed to a wound. And that brings me to another point. I find that when we operate from a place of desperation or we're in that desperate mindset, we tend to attract from our wounds. So let's say you have a wound that is abandonment, okay? Maybe as a child you felt abandoned emotionally and physically. And now that you're an adult, that wound is going to show up as a desperate need to hold on to other people, even when you know that they're not right for you. So you would overlook red flags and you would settle for crumbs just to avoid feeling abandoned. Another wound can be low self-esteem. Maybe you never felt good enough growing up. Now in your career, you will accept jobs that will underpay and undervalue you with hopes to prove yourself, right? And you chase opportunities from a place of desperation, hoping that the job would validate your worth instead of knowing that it already exists within you, which is basically something that I went through. Now, thank you, Lord Jesus, hallelujah. I overcame that, where now I'm in a state of not only a regulated nervous system, but I don't feel the need to have this chokehold on certain outcomes. I'm able to just let go and to just be. And when you finally let go of that, not only does it feel so liberating, but you find that your nervous system is more calm and at ease. And it also gives you more time, space, and energy to redefine yourself. And you get to do that. And that alone is such a privilege. Now, there is some work that I still have to do, but I'm grateful for the fact that, number one, I was able to start no matter how scary it was. And also, you get to really learn about yourself throughout that journey. And I think a great question we can ask ourselves is, where in my life am I acting desperate? Is it in your relationships, your career, your finances? Talk openly about it. Ask yourself where it comes from and when it was the last time you felt that. Breathe into it, feel it fully, let it speak. Because in that way, that's how you transform the shadow by loving it back to light. Ask yourself, what would it look like to choose from love, from trust, or from worthiness? And verbally paint that picture or write out that picture. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And that should give you the drive and the motivation to make that a reality. Remember, you don't win when you're desperate. You win when you believe in yourself, of course, in your value, and when you're calm in the face of challenges and adversity, especially when you're able to trust the process. If this video resonated with you, make sure to hit like, make sure to comment, and make sure to subscribe, or even share with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.